Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Asmadgurubhyo Namaha Shrutismritipurananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishwaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः ओम श्री मेधा दक्षिणामूर्ति स्वामिने नमः ओम सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ओम शांति 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 हरिः ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम ओम पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्ख्यपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तन्न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः once again everyone.
Namaste, Guruji.
Namaste. So, we are on the 22nd sloka. Shall we chant? You can all unmute yourself.
Yes, Guruji.
Ananyascintayanto mam
Ananyascintayanto
माम्
ye janah paryupasate
ye
जनाः
janaः
पर्युपासते
tesham nityabhiyuktanam
तेषां नित्यान्यभियुक्तानां
yogakshemam vahamyaham.
योगक्षेमं वहाम्यहम्.
Okay. So, after presenting the three forms of bhakti and also the three objects of bhakti as a means to liberation, freedom or moksha, whatever you can call, from verse 12 to 29, now from verse 20 onwards, Krishna is talking about bhakti from a different angle, that is Sakama Bhakti and Niskama Bhakti. So, Sakama Bhaktas are those who use bhakti and seek the help of God for fulfilling their material desires, which at the highest level is a trip to heaven to enjoy the heavenly pleasures. For them, God is the means and the sensory pleasures are the end. In verse number 20, he said that these Sakama Bhaktas who are Manda Bhaktas, who having worshipped the Lord through yajnas, those people who know the three Vedas, who drink the Soma juice in Soma Yaga, and who are purified of the papas, pray for access to heavens. In the process, they earn a lot of punya currency. And if they have met all the conditions for getting a visa to heaven, they go to heaven, which is the sacred world of Indra. And there they enjoy the celestial pleasures, which gods in heaven enjoy, in exchange for the punyam currency which they carry with them. Thus, the advantage of Sakama Bhakti was presented. Then Krishna turned his attention to the disadvantage of Sakama Bhakti. Because even though the heavenly pleasures are wonderful, they don't come cheap. And therefore, over a period of time, of course, which could be relatively very long, the balance of punyam currency gets depleted. And they cannot earn fresh punyam in heaven because Swarga is a bhoga bhumi, not a karma bhumi. And this is what is said in verse number 21. He said that these Sakama Bhaktas who have gone on a trip to heaven, having enjoyed that vast heavenly world, they come back to the world of mortals, that is Bhuloka, when their punya is exhausted. Thus, these seekers of sense pleasures get caught in the vicious circle of births and deaths endlessly. They first earn punya and papa in Bhuloka, then they go to the upper lokas or lower lokas for exhausting their punya or papa, as the case may be. And once the punya or papa are exhausted, they return to Bhuloka for once again earning punya and papa through Sakama Bhakti. And this cycle continues endlessly. In fact, according to the Shastra, among the 14 lokas, 7 upper and 7 lower, Bhuloka alone is the karma bhumi and all other lokas are bhoga bhumis. That means jivas go to those lokas to exhaust their stock of punyam or papam and then return to Bhuloka to earn fresh punyam and papam. Now, in the satsang of the last class, there was a discussion on how karma bhumi is defined in the Shastra and whether the entire Bhuloka is a karma bhumi or only parts of it are designated as karma bhumi. I don't know whether the student who raised this issue is present today. Not sure. Maybe is. See, this is another issue, which I often face, of course. Students will ask question in the satsanga. Then I will promise them that I will try to give them an answer in the next class, and next class they will be missing. Anyhow. Anyhow, I think it's a topic which everybody will be interested, so I will still go ahead and explain it.
That will be another vicious cycle.
Another vicious cycle. What to do? See, for Vedanta, the level of commitment should be extremely high. Otherwise, it is just an entertainment. Instead of watching some TV serial, you watch Vedanta, you come to Vedanta class. That's all. So unless you have got that Tivra mumukshutva, as in the language of Tattvabodha, that ardent fire that I want to get freedom, I want to get rid of this Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Mananam, Vedanta will not work for them. You will do whole life, you will study Vedanta and do the same thing what you have been doing. Anyway, so we'll come to this Karma Bhumi business. So even though this topic of Karma Bhumi, discussion on Karma Bhumi is not directly relevant for the purpose of Gita teaching, I had promised that I will do some research and try to provide an answer in today's class. And these days, the These AI tools, these artificial intelligence tools, they are very helpful in such research. So I will share with you what I found. Of course, this clarification is subject to E and OE class. Okay. Because I have purely relied on not any guru, only Google Guru I have relied on, the AI tools I have relied on. So basically, in Sanatana Dharma, that is Hinduism, the 14 lokas are divided into two zones, Karma Bhumi and Bhoga Bhumi. Karma Bhumi is where one performs their duty, earns the consequences of their deeds, both in the form of Drishtaphalam and Adrishtaphalam. It is the world where actions are performed and their results are experienced. And according to Shastra, spiritual growth and liberation are only possible through activities and actions performed in a karma bhumi. And Bhuloka is designated as karma bhumi, and all other lokas are designated as bhoga bhumis. Bhoga bhumis means where you experience the result of your karma, the adrishta phalam of your karma, where a jiva goes to exhaust the adrishta phalam of karmas performed in karma bhumi. There is a concept of akarma bhumi also, which means land of no action, which is found in Jain literature, which is a mythical land where inhabitants do not need to work for their livelihood, as all needs are met by magical kalpavrikshas, wish granting trees. So there also, unlike karma bhumi, no spiritual progress can be made in akarma bhumi because there is no opportunity for self-control, spiritual discipline, or performing actions to achieve liberation, that is moksha. Now, the question is whether the entire Bhuloka is a karma bhumi or only parts of it. The answer is that according to Shastra, only Bharata Varsha is designated as karma bhumi. Of course, this is also subject to varied interpretation within Hinduism itself. In one perspective, being born in Bharata Varsha is considered special and precious opportunity for spiritual advancement and liberation. Bharata Varsha is the plane where individuals can perform new actions and work towards spiritual goals like moksha. And these Vedas, which Bhagavan has given, is the prescription for people born in Bharata Varsha to seek this liberation. That is why this concept of moksha or liberation you don't find in any other regions or any other religion or any other philosophy. It is only in the Vedic philosophy this moksha or liberation concept is there. And since Vedas are directly relevant only for Bharata Varsha, in the sense that if you are born in Bharata Varsha, you will be guided by the Vedas. So, to that extent, we can understand that Bharata Varsha is the only designated karma bhumi. So, this perspective suggests that Bharata Varsha is a unique spiritual center and that a decline of dharma there could affect the entire world. Now, what areas consist of Bharata Varsha? That's the next question, because there was one specific question in the last class was people in America and all that, they all come under Bharata Varsha. That means for them moksha is not possible or not. So for that, we have to understand the division of the universe in the scriptures. Brahmanda Purana mentions that there are 7 dvipas. Land masses. We cannot dvipa, even though it is defined as islands. We can actually broaden that definition and say they are large land masses surrounded all over by water, sea,
Or like continents.
continents. Yeah, you can call it continents. 7 dvipas. The names of dvipas are Jambu Dvipa, Plaksha Dvipa, Shalmala Dvipa, Kusha Dvipa, Krauncha Dvipa, Shaka Dvipa, Pushkara Dvipa. 7 dvipas. And every single dvipa contains 7 parts named as varshas, except Pushkara Dvipa, which has got only 2 varshas. I'm not going into the names of all the varshas because it will be a very long list. Not relevant also. So what we have to note is that in the scriptures, only Bharata Varsha in Jambu Dvipa, that only is designated as Karma Bhumi. Not the other 6 Varshas also. Only Bharata Varsha. And according to the scriptures, the historical region of Bharata Varsha encompassed the entire Indian subcontinent and surrounding areas. According to Vishnu Purana, the central area of Bharata Varsha was defined by its geographical landmarks, namely north by the Himalayan mountains, in the south by the Indian Ocean, in the east by Bay of Bengal, and the west by the Arabian Sea. And therefore, the core definition of Bharata Varsha includes countries like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Nepal, Bhutan, and Sri Lanka, because this definition will fit into all these countries. So, Indian subcontinent, to put it in a very broad way. Of course, this is one perspective from the Purana perspective as what Bharata Varsha definition is. There are some broader definitions in some texts like Mahabharata, etc., which mentions as Bharata Varsha extending to Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, etc. And there is another description of Bharata Varsha in Vishnu Purana, being surrounded by ocean and comprising 9 parts, with central part being the land inhabited by the 4 Varnas. So the term was sometimes used to refer to the entire planet Earth, sometimes to a restricted area of what I just now defined. Interestingly, unlike other regions, there is no specific named Varsha for North America within the detailed classification of Jambu Dvipa. In fact, according to the modern scholars, North America and all, they come under Krauncha Dvipa, not even in Jambu Dvipa.
Excuse me, one question. What is then Bharadakande?
In Bharata Varshe, Bharadakhande is, Bharata Varsham is a bigger area. Bharadakhanda is a portion of Bharata Varsha which specifically mentions the central part of India.
Okay.
Okay, so where the 4, this Brahmana, Kshatriya, Shudras, Vaishyas and Shudras, they are inhabitants of that place, Bharadakhanda. So Bharadakhanda is a more restrictive definition of Karma Bhumi. So these are all, very involved discussions. But as I said, I do not have any personal knowledge, nor any guru has taught me all these things. But this is what I could find, and so we can make some sense out of it. In the sense that, what are the 7 continents? Why Bharata Varsha alone is called Karma Bhumi? Because Vedas is what? Divided into 2, Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. And who practice the Vedas? Only people in Bharata Varsha, Bharata Kanda. They practice the Vedas. They are the original inhabitants of this Bharatkhanda. If at all you find these Brahmins and Kshatriyas, etc., outside, they are all migrants. They are not the original inhabitants of other places. And so Bhagavan has given these Vedas for people to perform the people in Bharatkhanda to perform the karmas, earn punya papa, go to other lokas, etc., enjoy their life, fulfill all their artha kamam dharma purusharthas. And then Bhagavan has given Vedanta also in the form of Upanishads, so that if some of them, Pariksha Lokan Karmachitan Brahmana, they understand the limitations of these karmas and the karma phalams, they have got an option to graduate to promote themselves to Vedanta, get the self-knowledge and attain moksha. So that is why this whole place is called Karma Bhumi. The Bhumi where only karmas, if performed, will give the results. In other Bhumis, you may perform the karmas, but it will not give results. That is the interpretation which one can take. So, as I was saying, North America does not have a consistently named Dvipa or Varsha comparable to other major land masses. Its inclusion is often within the larger Jambu Dvipa. In some other interpretations with other continents like Krauncha Dvipa or Pushkara Dvipa, etc. But all said and done, North America is still not a part of Bharata Varsha, which alone is the Karma Bhumi. All other areas are Bhoga Bhumis. So you earn punya from here, go to America and enjoy whatever the Bhuloka Swarga is America, go there and enjoy. You may do karmas there, but that will not give you any additional punyam or papam. Similarly, if you have earned papa in the Bhuloka, you will be posted to some African country or somewhere you will have to go, where even getting food and water will be a big challenge. So, like that, everything else is a bhoga bhumi where the jiva goes to exhaust the adrishta phalam of the karmas which the jiva has performed in the karma bhumi. As I said, these discussions are only for academic purposes. They are not at all relevant for Gita teaching. We are not talking about karma at all. We are talking not about bhoga also. We are talking about moksha here. So that we must keep in mind. And of course, these discussions are a good, what I call, in films and in cinemas or in plays and all that, they've got a portion called a relief. Because if the narrative of the drama is very intense, then in order to give some mental relief, psychological relief to the audience, they will introduce some comic scenes, some comedy scenes, or some songs, etc., so that the intensity is reduced, and then you can continue watching the movie or the drama. So that is it. That is the discussion or what I found on Karma Bhumi and Bhoga Bhumi, etc. So now coming back to Gita. So as I said, in the 21st verse, Krishna is highlighting the limitations of Sakama Bhakti. And therefore, he offers the solution in the 22nd verse, which we were discussing in the last class. And what is the solution he offers? He says, outgrow Sakama Bhakti and take to Nishkama Bhakti. Graduate from Manda Bhakta to a Madhyama Bhakta, whose goal in life is God. God is not a means, but the very end, the very goal of life. And therefore, let your mind be always occupied with this end goal in life. Of course, then one will be prompted to ask, if my mind is always to be occupied with the thought of the Lord, what about my other goals in life? What about my duties in life? What about taking care of my family responsibility, etc.? Are they not important? Krishna says, I never said that they are not important. If you are a grihastha, you are bound to engage in activities of yoga, acquiring whatever is required to run the household, and also kshema, preserving what has been acquired. So kshema means praptasya rakshanam, protecting whatever I have acquired during my lifetime. So acquisition and preservation, these are the two basic human pursuits in human life. And if we look back, that is what we have been doing the whole life. It is either acquiring or preserving. Only these two we have been doing. And Krishna understands that when you are caught in this samsara chakra, thinking of anything else, including God, at all times is not possible. And that is why a significant aspect of sadhana chatushtaya sampatti is vairagyam, detachment, detachment from worldly pleasures. We have discussed in the early days how to detach yourself, role play, all that we have discussed. In fact, in Bhajagovindam, Adi Shankara says, Dinayaminyau sayam pratah शिशिरवसन्तौ पुनरायातः कालक्रीडति गच्छति आयुः तदपि न मुञ्चति आशावायुः. He says daylight and darkness, dusk and dawn, winter, springtime, all this come and go. All play of time, and life ebbs away. But the storm of desire never leaves a person. That is why right up to the death, last breath, that desires never go away. And then what Shankaracharya is implying here is, remember, with the passing of every day, we are getting closer and closer to our tryst with Yamaraja. In our preoccupation with yoga and kshema 24/7, this reality totally slips our mind. And therefore, Krishna comes to our rescue. He says, whatever minimum you need to do, you do for yoga and kshema. You have to take care of yoga and kshema to some extent. But providing total yoga kshema is beyond your capacity. You can never provide because everything in life is insecure. People like President, Prime Minister, they have got so many security guards to protect them. But if a Prime Minister gets killed by own security, we can imagine the fate of ordinary people. Just see the kind of security all these exporters in India, they were all having very good time for the last so many years, so many decades rather. Major export to America. Very good prices, they earned lot of money. They thought that they are very secure. Lifelong this will go on. What has happened now? In the matter of 15 days, the whole world is shaken rather. They're talking about losses to the 50, 60, 70 billion dollars. So this is what is the whole life is about. Insecure, ephemeral, there today, not tomorrow. And therefore Krishna says, whatever is to be taken care of, you take care. Don't go on doing yoga and Kshema for 7 generations to come. You don't need that much. You have to take care of your family. Your children will take care of themselves. Why are you worried about your child, your grandchild, and all, and you want to leave a huge estate and things, big wealth for them? So, whatever is required, you take care. But if there is a gap, that can be fulfilled by only one method. What is that? Surrender to the Lord with the attitude that Bhagavan will take care of the rest. Of course, that does not mean that we should be irresponsible people. You should not say, okay, I am not going to do anything, let Bhagavan take care of everything. That is not the attitude which Krishna wants us to take. Whatever is humanly possible, we do. And leave the rest to Lord. Then the advantage will be your mind is available for something beyond local yoga and Kshema. You have the time and inclination for Gita classes, Vedanta Vichara. But even in this, there could be a problem due to Viparyaya, our past orientation, which will lead to Samshaya, doubt. And what is the doubt? Simple doubt, which we have with every human being, which will go to Bhagavan also. Is Bhagavan reliable? In the past, I have relied on so many people, but most of them had ditched me, turned out to be unreliable. And this is going to be my first experience with Bhagavan. Can I trust the Lord? So, the next worry will be, is the Lord reliable? And Bhagavan says that if there is one reliable entity in the whole universe, that is only me. So, Yoga Kshevam Vahamyaham. I am the highest life insurance corporation. I will take care of your yoga and Kshema. Don't worry. But there is one condition. This insurance coverage I will extend to only those who are totally committed to their goal as me. Tesham nityabhiyuktanam. For them, the goal is the Lord, nothing else. Abhiyuktaha means steadfast, committed. So, for those people who are Jignasu Bhaktas, Trivra Mumukshus, or Madhyama Bhaktas, I will take care of their yoga and Kshema. That is the promise Krishna gives. And therefore, in this sloka, Krishna addresses one of the most important psychological anxieties of every human being. Because every person has a sense of insecurity in the mind. Normally, Grihastha should be secure. Insecurity should be felt only by sannyasis. Because only for sannyasis, there is no one. Sannyasis do not have any relationship to fall back upon for their security or for security of livelihood, for emotional security, even for physical security. Isn't it? Therefore, if at all worry should be there, only a sannyasi should worry. But the fact is that sannyasis do not worry at all. On the contrary, a grihastha who has got children, grandchildren, property, possession, money, etc., only he is found to be constantly worrying, which indicates that security does not depend upon your external possessions. It depends upon your state of mind. Without anything to possess, you can feel secure. With everything to possess, you can still feel insecure. And the greatest irony is that we get children for our security, And when we grow old, we begin to worry about the children's security. So it begs the question, who is security for whom? If you feel that both are mutually secured, that means both are insecure. Two insecure members can never give mutual security. Therefore, all the insecure people should draw security only from one ever secure source, and that is called Bhagavan. And therefore, Krishna gives a guarantee card, which is valid not for 1 year or 5 years. It is an eternal guarantee. He says, you trust me and you will be safe. Not for 2 months, 6 months, etc. Eternally you will be safe. You trust me and you will be safe. Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. So beautiful sloka, very, very famous sloka, a popular sloka, oft quoted sloka. So now continuing. Ready to chant?
Yes, Guruji.
येऽप्यन्य देवता भक्ता है
येऽप्यन्य देवता भक्ताः
यजन्ते श्रद्धयान्विता है
यजन्ते श्रद्धयान्विताः
तेऽपि मामैव कौन्तेय
तेऽपि मामैव कौन्तेय
यजन्त्यविधिपूर्वकम्
यजन्त्य विधिपूर्वकम्.
So Krishna says, Anvaya will give, हे कौन्तेय अपि ये अन्य देवता भक्ता है यजन्ते श्रद्धया अन्विता है ते अपि यजन्ति माम एव avidhipurvakam. Another very important aspect of bhakti he is bringing out. Hey Kaunteya, O son of Kunti, O Arjuna, api ye, even those Anya Devata Bhakta hai, who are devotees of other finite gods, Yajante, and who worship them, Shraddhayanvita hai, with faith, Te api yajanti, they are also worshipping Mam eva, me alone, avidhipurvakam, unknowingly. So he says, O Arjuna, even those who are devotees of other finite gods and who worship them with faith are worshipping me alone unknowingly. So to understand this sloka, we need to remind ourselves of some background. As I said earlier, from the 22nd verse up to the 29th verse, Lord Krishna is classifying bhakti into two types based on the motive with which the bhakti is expressed or practiced. The motive behind bhakti can be twofold. With regard to ignorant people, there can be twofold motive. We are not taking into account a jnani whose bhakti is absolutely motiveless. So here, Krishna is not talking about the motiveless bhakti of a jnani. Because jnani does not have a motive, has nothing to accomplish. Jnani does not even want to attain moksha because already he has accomplished moksha. That is why he is a jnani. And he is not interested in dharma, artha, kama because dharma, artha, kama being finite, moksha being infinite. All finite accomplishments are included in the infinite. And therefore, a jnani does not want dharma, artha, kama or moksha. So, in this context, we should recall this sloka from the 3rd chapter. नैव तस्य कृतेनार्थः न कृतेनेह कश्चन न चास्य सर्वभूतेषु कश्चिदर्थव्यपाश्रयः. And therefore, jnani bhakti is motiveless. Therefore, in the context of sakama or niskama bhakti, jnani is not considered. Here we are discussing a bhakti of a ajnani. Both Nishkama and Sakama, Ajnani Bhakti only we are discussing. And therefore, this Ajnani who will have necessarily some motive, some axe to grind. And based on that motive, Bhakti is classified into two, Sakama, in which the Ajnani worships the Lord for the sake of everything else other than the Lord. Such a Bhakti is motivated by the desire for Dharmartha Kama, which represent material desires. Whereas Nishkama Bhakti is also motivated Bhakti. Nishkama Bhakti of an Ajnani, we should not understand as desireless. Excuse me. The only difference with Sakama Bhakti is Nishkama Bhakti is Bhakti in which Bhakta is not interested in anything other than God. Therefore, it is called Nishkama Bhakti. Therefore, in Nishkama Bhakti also there is a motive. And what is that? Bhakta says, "Oh Lord, I do not want anything other than you." So a Nishkama Bhakta may not be interested in Dharmartha Kama, but is interested in moksha, and therefore there is a motive. So Sakama, Nishkama Bhaktis of Ajnani are differentiated in this portion, and Krishna's indirect advice is, may you graduate from Sakama Bhakti to Nishkama Bhakti. And this is indicated in a symbolic language. And it is very important to understand that symbolic language for interpreting these verses properly. Now, what is the symbolic language? In Bhagavad Gita, most of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna represents the infinite Lord, infinite one, or he represents moksha. And all other gods represents finite devatas, representing all other finite goals of life, like money and wealth, Lakshmi Devata, finite Devata, represents only the money aspect, wealth aspect. Similarly, Surya Devata, finite Devata, representing only the power of vision. Saraswati Devata, only Meda Shakti and knowledge. Thus, all the other Devatas represent limited goals in life, whereas Krishna represents the limitless. Even though Krishna form is finite, but it symbolizes the infinite. And in this context, we should remember the checkbook example which we saw while discussing the 7th chapter. I don't know whether you all remember. If you ask in a checkbook, is the first leaf more valuable or the second leaf more valuable? You cannot give any answer. The value of the check leaf will depend upon what amount is entered for payment. Otherwise, all leaves are equal. So if you write rupee 1 in first leaf and rupees 1 lakh in the second, obviously second leaf becomes more valuable. Therefore, the leaf itself leaf by itself is neither superior nor inferior, but the superiority or inferiority is indicated by what you write on that check leaf. Similarly, here also, Krishna Shariram is one check leaf. Rama Shariram is another finite form. All Rupams are finite, but the way you invoke makes the difference. If in the Krishna Shariram you invoke Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, Krishna will represent what? The infinite. As I said in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is Purnam Brahma. So there Krishna says, instead of worshipping other finite devatas, you can worship me, because all devatas are included in me. We have already seen the logic that infinite includes all finite. And therefore Krishna says any devata, a person worships, all those prayers and worship will not go to that particular devata, but through that devata, it comes to me alone. It is just like, if you want to touch a person, how will you touch a person? You cannot touch a person unless you touch one of the limbs, either the shoulder or the hand or leg or face, isn't it? But when I touch the hand or a leg or any other limb, I don't say I am touching a hand or limb. I will say I am touching the person. Isn't it? Because by definition, the word I includes all limbs. Therefore, the first point to be noted is that any worship we do to any devata goes ultimately to Krishna the Chaitanyam. The second point is that any result for worship is not given by those devatas. Any blessing comes from Krishna alone, but through that particular devata. Krishna the infinite blesses all people. Therefore, Krishna receives all worship through the devatas. Krishna blesses all people through the devatas. This is the second principle we have to understand. Then the next principle is that we have to understand is, in the symbolic language, is this. Since all other devatas represents only finite powers, by worshipping those devatas, a person can get only finite benefit. The power of each devata is limited, just now as we saw. And therefore, they can give only what is within their power. It is like you go to a hospital or a clinic for consultation about toothache. You have to go to a dentist. In fact, go to a dentist only and not an ophthalmologist, because it is not his department. It is not his specialization. Similarly, if you want wealth, Lakshmi can deal with money. You go to Lakshmi Devi, perform Varalakshmi Puja and all that. And for knowledge, what you should do? Go to Saraswati, perform Saraswati Puja on the 9th day of Navaratri. So, finite devatas can bless you only with finite result. And the worship of those devatas will come under Sakama Bhakti. And so, what is the principle? If you want infinite result, you cannot go to these finite devatas because they cannot give you what you seek. Therefore, in Bhagavad Gita context, one has to go to Krishna. Only then you will get the infinite result, moksha. And therefore, here, Krishna Bhakti represents Nishkama Bhakti in the context of Bhagavad Gita. Anya Devata Bhakti represents Sakama Bhakti. If you are a Shiva Bhakta and you invoke infinite in Shiva, in that context, Shiva Bhakti will represent Nishkama Bhakti, and all other Devata Bhakti, including Krishna Bhakti, will represent Sakama Bhakti. So these points and all, we have to bear in mind these principles to understand the teachings of Krishna from this verse 22 to 29. Otherwise, we will get very confused. Krishna is saying, addressing himself as me. That means what? And that is where the confusion has come with groups like ISKCON and all. They want to interpret Krishna as the Krishna form, but at the same time, they don't want to discard the essential nature of Krishna, which is consciousness. And that is why the very organization is called Krishna consciousness. But their teachings are not based on Bhagavad Gita. Their teachings are based on Bhagavad Purana, Puranic teaching, where you can actually very, very intelligently blend both. Because Purana, Bhagavad Purana, Bhagavatam talks about both form Krishna and also Chaitanya Krishna. Both it talks about. And that is why ISKCON background, if you understand, that is their philosophy. Anyway, I'm drifting away. So therefore, in this verse 23, Krishna says, Ye api anya devata bhakta hai. So there are people who are worshippers of other gods, gods other than me. How do they worship? Shraddhaya anvitaha yajante. They are worshipping with Shraddha, with full faith, that the other devatas, which includes all the Navagraha devatas also, they worship them without knowing the fact that their worship does not go to that devata at all. Really speaking, through them, through those devatas, all that worship prayers are coming to me alone. Te api mam eva yajanti he kaunteya. So those people are worshipping me alone. Akashat patitantoyam yata gacchati sagaram sarvadeva namaskaram keshavam pratigacchati. Swami Paramatmananda says this must have been written by some Krishna Bhakta. If a Shiva Bhakta has written, he would have written Rudram eva pratigacchati. So depending upon how you invoke. So te api mam eva yajanti. So all this is fine. But Krishna says they have one problem. And what is that? He says avidhi purvakam. They are ignorant of this fact that they worship a finite devata, and which worship will eventually come to me alone, reach me alone. So in this context, the word avidhi means ajnanam. It has a special meaning. So they are ignorant of the fact that all the finite devatas are included in me. And by worshipping me, they would be worshipping all other devatas also. If they worship the devatas alone, individually, they will not be worshipping me, Krishna, the Chaitanya. But if they worship me, Krishna, the Chaitanya, then that worship will include all other devatas also. And unfortunately, those people, they are ignorant of this fact. And Krishna further clarifies in the next shloka. Ready to chant?
Yes, Guruji.
Aham hi sarvayajnanam
Aham
सर्वयज्ञानाम्
bhokta cha prabhureva cha
भोक्ता च
Prabhupada
प्रभुरेव
natu mam abhijananti
न
न
तु
तु
मामभिजानन्ति
मामभिजानन्ति
tatvena tasya vanti te.
तत्त्वेन
तत्त्वेनावगच्छन्ति.
Good. So Anvaya is he aham eva bhokta hai cha prabhu cha sarvayajnanam tu na abhijananti mam tatvena atah te chyavanti. He indeed, ahameva, I alone am, bhokta cha, the enjoyer, prabhu cha, and the Lord, sarva yajnanam, of all yajnas. Tu, but now abhijananti mam, they do not know me, tatvena, in reality, Ataha, therefore, te chavanti, they fall. Fall means not literally, they fall into samsara. You must understand. Indeed, I alone am the enjoyer and the lord of all the yajnas, but they do not know me in reality, therefore they fall in samsara. So the idea of the previous sloka is further clarified. Aham sarva yajnanam bhokta. I am the receiver of all forms of worship offered to any other devata. So I am the receiver. Bhokta means receiver, enjoyer. It is just like, we are handing over the money to the post office. Even though physically we are handing over to the post office, it goes to the person concerned. Similarly, all the other devatas are like these postmen only. Postmen, not postwomen. They have to ultimately hand over all your prayers, offering, etc. to Krishna the Chaitanyam, because if they want to bless their devotee, that blessing has to come from me alone, from Krishna alone. Thus, as a cabinet minister enjoys the ministerial power blessed by the prime minister, all devatas are, their powers are derived from Krishna, the consciousness, Chaitanyam. And therefore, he says, all these devatas have to come to me, and I alone give them the power to bless their devotee. Therefore, Bhokta Aham Eva. And not only that, Prabhu Eva Cha. I am Prabhu, the ruler. I have got the necessary powers to fulfill their desires. Constitution has bestowed that power on me. Vedic constitution. This power rests in me only and not in those finite devatas. So the power to the finite devatas is given by me alone, and with which they bless the devotees. But all these details they do not know. Natu mam abhijananti, those people do not understand me clearly. Tatvena. Tatvena means in my true nature. That avividhi purvakam of the previous sloka is explained here. Natu mam abhijananti. There we assumed, isn't it? Avidhi means ajnanam, I said. Here Krishna clarifies that is what it means. Natu mam abhijananti. They do not know me in reality. So, by saying that they do not know my real nature, Krishna is indirectly conveying that he has got two natures. One is superficial, unnatural nature, and other is essential, real nature. What is the superficial, unreal nature? The physical form, the finite form. That is the superficial, unreal nature. Because it is temporarily taken by the Lord on an Ashtami day. It was not there before. And one day it will cease to exist also. It is not that Krishna was not there, that particular Shariram, that Maya Manusha Vesham was not there before Ashtami. Krishna consciousness was always there. And that Maya Manusha Vesham will not be there after Swargahorana. And therefore, Manusha Vesham is unreal. And that Krishna himself told in the 11th, he will tell in the 11th chapter. Sorry, in the 11th verse of this chapter, he told, Avajananti ma mooda hai, manushim tanu mashritam, param bhavam ajananta hai, mama bhuta maheshwaram. This sloka we can remember, only recently we saw this. So, seeing my human form, The deluded people think that I am a particular finite person. But what is my real nature? Param bhavam ajanantah. My real nature is what? Mundaka Upanishad students can recall Ashabdam, Asparsham, Arupam, Avyayam, etc. Formless, attributeless, Satchidananda Swarupam. That is my real form. That those people did not understand. Mam Tatvena Nirguna Swarupena Na Avajananti. So instead of knowing my Purna Swarupam, they take to my Apurna Swarupam only. And therefore, what happens? We will see in the next class. Okay. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Visishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Dhanyavadaha.
धन्यवाद.
A very low
Dhanyavad,
attendance class
Guruji.
today. I don't know what is the reason. Only
Thank you,
one
Guruji.
student sent a regret note. I mean,
Namaskaram.
Namaskaram. Oh, you are there. Okay.
Yeah, I was late by about 5 minutes.
Okay. Okay.
Modagam went too much inside.
Oh, I wish I had known Ramuji, I would have been there for Modagam.
No, I don't prepare anything. I get everything.
For other people, Bodhagam must have gone inside a lot of them. Anyway, so are there any questions?
I wanted to ask you, it's just more a comment. What it says is Krishna is the ultimate. Everything is rooted to him.
Yes.
That's what is the sum and substance.
Not Krishna the form, Krishna the consciousness.
Krishna the consciousness.
That is the
Not
real
the form.
Not the Krishna the form, not the Janmashtami Krishna.
But the concept of Krishna.
Concept of Krishna. The consciousness which is all pervading.
Conscious.
Because when we saw Nirguna Brahman, Saguna Brahman also, what is Saguna Brahman? Saguna Brahman is nothing but Nirguna Brahman with form. Correct?
Yeah.
So, when you actually negate the form, the name and form, what remains is consciousness. In the context of Bhagavad Gita, he says, I am that consciousness. So if you take Rudram Chamakam, you can say Shiva saying, I am that consciousness. Every devata can claim to be the consciousness if you can ignore the name and form. And if you ignore the name and form, there is no name. So what do you call? There is no Krishna, isn't it? Because Krishna is also a name.
So virtually you reach that formless.
Formless, nameless Chaitanyam you reach. And that is where all the prayers, everything is getting transferred. And that is what is the karma phala dhata. That is what determines based upon whatever our actions are. Because Lord, this law of karma is also a part and parcel of that entire world order, the cosmic order. And the cosmic order is the Lord of that cosmic order is that consciousness. Which has no name, no form, nothing, no arupam, ashabdam, asparsham, nothing. That is the final message of all the Upanishads. But we cannot reach there without first going through some form, some name, etc. because that is our orientation. So we have to first get into names, get into Sakama Bhakti, then go to Nishkama Bhakti. Even in Nishkama Bhakti also we have to change over from materialistic desire to desire for God. And then when you come to Uttama Bhakti, because Nishkama Bhakti is what? We defined it as Madhyama Bhakti. When you come to Uttama Bhakti, which is when you study the Upanishads and things like that, Then also same Bhagavad Gita with the idea that Krishna is referring himself to as the consciousness, that becomes Uttama Bhakti, and that is what is the route to moksha.
So one is you read Bhagavad Gita as a ode to the Krishna, and then you graduate to as Nishkama Bhakti, to a formless entity, and that transforms you to a higher plane.
Correct. So most people, they interpret Bhagavad Gita from a Sakama Bhakti point of view. So that is why they take it as an ode to Krishna.
Yes.
Whereas Krishna himself in so many places, not only just now we saw in the 11th, 9th chapter itself, then 7th chapter, 3rd chapter, he is indicating what his real nature is. So when they interpret, they understand, they conveniently, ignore those portions because they can't explain it. In this sloka, Krishna says, whatever worship you do to any devata, that comes to me only. Which means what? I am the ultimate. And not Krishna the form, not the
The
Janma.
consciousness.
Krishna the consciousness is the ultimate. So your understanding of the ultimate, your rather, I would say, not only understanding, but internalizing the fact of the ultimate and abiding in that ultimate is what is moksha is all about.
See, that means you visualize nothing, shunyam.
No, it is not shunyam.
No.
Shunyam means zero.
Okay, no. What I want to do is, I'll clarify it. I'll make a different. You have to reach a level of stillness that nothing, no form is visible for you.
Correct.
Not shunyam, stillness.
Absolutely. There is nothing.
Yeah.
Because whenever you are talking about visualization and things like that and all, in fact, the word visualization itself is a misnomer because for visualization you require mind and intellect.
Yes.
But mind and intellect cannot reach consciousness. So you have to see it is there. That's it. My understanding is the entire prapancha is run by that consciousness. That is the power. And I am that power. Because I am also essentially, real nature is consciousness alone. All this, my name and form and all these are incidental only. So once you understand that I am one with that ultimate cosmic power, cosmic energy, or whatever you can call, when movement you call energy and all, you go into the Maya portion. It's not Maya. Maya Rahita Nirguna Brahman. Once you understand that, abide in that knowledge, which Krishna will say will transform itself into, later on he will talk about, this treating everybody, everything in this universe alike, because understanding that the essence of everything is the same, that is samabhava, all that later on it will come.
Samabhava we did cover in one of the
We
earlier.
do. See, all these messages Krishna will keep on giving now and then rather.
Yeah.
So because if you look at the way the whole Bhagavad Gita is developed, first and second chapter Krishna gave the whole teaching to Arjuna. And then, like for all of us, it all went above the head of Arjuna also.
Yes.
Then in third chapter onwards, he started slightly, he expanded that scope. Then in fourth chapter again, he gave, almost sort of a summary of the entire Upanishad. Again, Arjuna did not understand. So from fifth chapter, he is now going step by step, step by step, step by step. He understands Krishna that all this is not going to be easy. So let me take to 18 chapters, tell them everything. What is the relevance of name and form? What is behind the name and form, names and forms? All that detailed teaching is giving. And wherever opportunity is there, he will actually talk about Sakama Bhakti. He will talk about Nirgunam, everything he will talk about. Ultimately conclude in the 18th chapter. So that is the whole scheme of Bhagavad Gita.
Hari Om. It's a long journey, and it's a
very long journey to complete the study of Bhagavad Gita.
no. When I
After
say
that,
long
it is a
journey,
much longer journey.
no, not in terms of study,
Yeah.
but in terms of understanding it, internalizing it.
Very long, very long.
It's a huge challenge, and
It's a huge challenge. But one grace is that once you have entered into this, in this life, and you are not anxious that you want moksha in this life, if it comes, well and good. But future lives you will be progressing in this spiritual path, as we saw in the 6th chapter. Krishna says that once you have come to this stage, then there is no going back for you. You will develop, ultimately we have got jnanis like Adi Shankara, so many jnanis here, also, Swami Chinmayananda and all. They have reached that stage, they have understood. So they have no attachment, nothing. It's not that they have no love for people and all that. They have not detached themselves from the world, but being within the world, they have been detached. Swami Paramathananda, Swami Dayanand Saraswati, all these people, they are people who have actually reached that stage. Do you mean to say they have reached the stage only in this birth? No chance. It's all carry forward.
it is a culmination of
Culmination
millions of
of
millions.
Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanavan Mam Prabhadyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti. What he says, Durlabha hai, no? Ye jana hai. Those who know that Vasudeva is Sarvam. We saw that sloka, isn't it? So, at the end of so many janmas only, this will come. But as I said, the positive aspect is we have entered that journey in this janma. That's a best part. Because 99.99% of the people have no clue about all these things.
We have got into the right train.
We have got into the right track. And we have to just keep on pursuing it, and it will lead. It is just like a marathon running, In marathon, the person who actually wins is not a person who runs fastest,
But who is steady?
who is steady and who, slowly, he will increase his pace so that when all others become tired, this fellow will reach the goal rather. So this Vedanta study is a marathon rather. You have to take it as that, continue with the goal in mind. I want to reach there. So keep on continuing, running. That's all. As Grihasthas, unfortunately, we can't devote our whole time for this. That's why sannyasa ashrama is better suited, but then we are not fortunate in this janma to get sannyasa ashrama. Maybe in future janmas that will also come, and that will help us to probably further, go faster in this route. That is what it is.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Sulekha ji.
Thank you very much, Guruji. Namaskaram.
Thank you. Namaskaram.
Namaste, Guruji.
Namaste.
My question is, in today's class, you had mentioned some Sakama Bhakta and Nishkama Bhakta and the Bhagavad Gita. Can we consider then the Bhagavad Gita as it is an itihasa, that it is a bridge between Sakama Bhakti and Nishkama Bhakti, and as it is a bridge between the Puranas where there is names and forms of devatas, going towards then the Upanishads, which has no names and forms, and which is that pure consciousness that you had described in today's class and in many of the classes. when we read my question then is, when we read or study or try to understand the Bhagavad Gita, we can understand it in two ways. I think Sitaramji had mentioned this. We read it in one way as a text, but then in the second way, we read it not so much as a text per se with characters and names and forms, but we read it so that the underlying consciousness, if we can start to understand that, absorb it, and then reflect it, that is where the true understanding or learning happens. Is this a correct understanding what you're
Absolutely
saying?
correct, because if you consider the names, forms, and the events in the Bhagavad Gita, there is not much of a difference between Bhagavata Purana and Bhagavad Gita. It's the same thing. There also Krishna, of course, there Krishna right from childhood is described, and so many Leelas and Krishna Leela and all that is there. Bhagavata Purana makes it more entertaining. But what is Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad Gita, as we chant in the end of every chapter, Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre, isn't it? So one should try to approach Bhagavad Gita teaching with the idea that this is talking about Brahma Vidya, which is given in the Upanishads. And what is the Vidya, Brahma Vidya given in Upanishads? That the consciousness is the ultimate. So when you understand, interpret Bhagavad Gita in that, from that perspective, then it becomes really relevant for our purpose of spiritual journey. Otherwise, if you look at Bhagavad Gita only as Krishna and teaching and all that, more entertaining only. You will read the whole Bhagavad Gita and not get anywhere in your spiritual journey. So, from a spiritual progress point of view, Bhagavad Gita has to be understood as rightly as Krishna wanted Arjuna to understand, that difference between form, name and formlessness, and that you, from one perspective, you can look at me as a form, another perspective, which is the real perspective, you should look at me, understand me as the formless. That is what he is trying to explain in this 9th chapter, because 9th chapter is all about, as I said, understanding God. Krishna is teaching us, what do you mean by God? There is not one definition of God. God definition is very comprehensive. From 2-3 dimensions we can understand God, and Krishna is presenting all those dimensions. So your question is, we have to approach Bhagavad Gita from the teaching of the Upanishad, from the standpoint of the teaching of the Upanishads.
Namaste, Guruji.
And
Is there any question? Sulekha ji, finish.
Thank you. I just wanted to add one more comment. Then it goes back to your earlier knowledge that you shared from Swami Dayananda Saraswati, where there is only God.
Yes.
You go from many, many gods or devatas to an understanding that there is a formless consciousness, to that is what we all are. And therefore, even the idea of vairagyam becomes that much more, I wouldn't say easier, but that much more relevant, because we don't have the attachment to the things that we know or the people that we like or that we know, that everything has that consciousness, and therefore there is easier not to have attachment only to some things, because then you leave out some things. Everything becomes consciousness.
Yes.
So I think that the idea to try to not absorb, but to understand, then absorb, then reflect is everything is only God. To see that in everyone means that you don't have just specific devatas that you like or that you pray to or that you want something from, that everything is that reflection and manifestation.
Absolutely, absolutely. That understanding has to first come, and then we have to grow in that understanding.
Thank you, Guruji. Hari Om. Thank you.
Yes, Anjali ji. What was
Yeah,
that?
Namaste, Guruji. Guruji, this spiritual progress can be done only in the human birth, as this is the karma bhumi. So, whatever is told in the 21st shloka, our trip to Swargaloka, is there any option to avoid that and retain only in this birth, in the next birth, to come again to the karma bhumi only? Is possible or no? It is not. We are bound.
Your option is very easily, as I explained, I think in the last class, depends upon with what sankalpa you do the karmas.
Hmm.
If the sankalpa you are doing a puja and you say,
Hmm.
I want all these things, then obviously the highest level is Swargaloka.
Hmm.
So if you don't want punya of all the karmas that you do,
Hmm.
papas you must avoid, first of
Yeah.
all.
Yes.
For that, there is only one way: follow dharma, lead a dharmic life.
Hmm.
So, by leading a dharmic life, you will be able to avoid substantial amount of papas, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Then comes the question of punya karmas.
Yes.
In punya karma, you say, I don't want any of these material benefits. I don't
Hmm.
want sarga and all that. All I want, Bhagavan, I want you. You are my goal.
Hmm.
First
Okay.
stage,
Yes.
Madhyama Bhakta. Then when that also has been going on for some time, well, that will what will it will do, that kind of an approach will keep on giving you chitta shuddhi.
Hmm.
So your mind becomes purer and purer and purer.
Yes.
And when the mind becomes pure and pure, automatically all these concepts of consciousness, chaitanyam, they will be very easily absorbed in a pure mind.
Yes.
Therefore, in your avoidance of punyam, is that you say, I don't want, I am doing all these things for chitta nishkam
Yes.
karma I am doing.
Okay.
You are my only goal and please give me. That's why I gave you one center which I use in all my pujas.
Hmm.
Chitta shuddhyartham, loka kshemartham and
Hmm.
Ishvara
Okay.
triptyartham.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
these three, words are very key words. I don't
Hmm.
want anything. Bhagavan, whatever has given me till now, more than enough that I can handle, actually speaking.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
whatever is there in store, based upon my past karmas,
Hmm.
that will come to me. Whether it is positive or negative, I can't avoid it.
Hmm.
If I have to have suffer a heart attack, it will come.
Hmm.
By earning punyam, I cannot avoid a heart attack. Correct.
Hmm. Hmm.
So whatever comes to me, I accept it.
Hmm.
That this is what Bhagavan has kept for me. So I will take it and I will go through it and
Hmm.
I will do whatever best in my control to
Hmm.
take care of that situation, whether it is a right,
Hmm.
good situation, bad situation.
Hmm.
So like that, we come across so many people in life. Sometimes we will feel those people have cheated us.
Hmm.
In fact, in one of the construction which I was doing, here in Coimbatore,
Hmm.
that contractor, he cheated me to the extent of about 9 to 10 lakhs.
Oh.
Okay, initially my this thing was I will sue him, I will go to the police and things like that and all that. Then I sat back and thought about it. Is it all worth
Hmm.
it? I
Hmm.
mean, is it that the 9 or 10 lakhs is really very, very critical for me or not?
Hmm.
Maybe he required that money for some reason
Oh.
because that was the period, COVID period, I mean, he did not have any
Hmm.
choice. So he chose to take money from me, calling it loan and all
Okay.
that, and ultimately did not repay anything.
Hmm.
I have now said, okay, good. If he has benefited out of it, I am happy.
Hmm.
I am not going to become
Exactly.
poorer by not getting that money. Correct.
Hmm.
So carry on with life. So like
Hmm.
that, when you do this niskama karma, this kind of purification of your thoughts happens rather.
Hmm.
I will not say I have done and all. It is Bhagavan has actually given those thoughts in my mind. Saying that, don't worry, Baba, doesn't matter. You are not losing anything because of that. Right? At least maybe that person's family, they were saved during COVID times because he's a contractor, he doesn't have regular income. So your money must have helped that family, child and all that. So be happy with that. That attitude change, it comes rather automatically. Just giving you an example, personal example.
Yeah,
Only.
yeah, correct. Guruji, great, sir. Great attitude that you have practiced.
These kind of things happen in life.
Hmm.
Whenever adversities come, you don't get carried away by the adversities. At the same time, you don't get very elated. Oh, so and so has recognized me, and they were all talking about me, about how good my Veda classes are. Nothing like that. Somebody is talking about your classes are good. I'll say, Ariyo, thank you very much. That's all. I don't get elated that I am the best teacher in the world and all. That also one should avoid rather. So both ways, you come to a stage where you have a equanimity of approach towards everything in life. That can come only with Chitta Shuddhi. Chitta Shuddhi can come only with Nishkama Bhakti. So all these are all related.
Yeah, great. Very
So
nice
they can do
explanation.
anything particular to avoid the punyam, papam and all. You just lead a dharmic life.
Yeah,
All your karmas
everything
you
will come.
do as a Nishkama Bhakta.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
Okay.
That's
Yeah. Thank you, Guruji. Nice explanation.
Hari Om. Thank you.
Hari Om. Thank you, Guruji. Hari
Thank
Om.
you.